So, Bungie, for those of you in chat who might not be aware, is the studio that was originally behind Halo. Although I'm pretty sure most of the people who worked on Halo have now fled into the sun because Bungie has become kind of the fucking corporate stooge workplace. But they used to make really good games. Bungie, however, is also responsible for a decent amount of live service games. I do believe that they made Destiny 2, and now they were working on a new IP called Marathon. It's not actually new. Marathon was an old game that they made, but they have actually repurposed it to be an extraction shooter. Now, if you're like me and you don't know what that means, don't worry, because I'm pretty sure that the trailers are going to explain. Two things about Marathon, though, that are worth noting. The first is, it has a pretty interesting aesthetic, and the second thing is, apparently the character designs are a little bit ass, so...
Oh, I know what the ladies like. Bam!
I want to talk about Marathon from an artistic perspective, especially considering what's happened. Yes, I know, we'll talk about it in a bit, but before I dive into that, I want to take a look at the game, at what Bungie has done with it so far, because I believe that the game is now in, the alpha is done, I believe they are in beta tasting. I personally think that they should fucking cancel this thing, but we'll get there, right? So for now, let's watch some trailers. Like, it definitely has an incredibly fun aesthetic for a sci-fi game. Most sci-fi anything is not usually very colorful. By the way, I'm gonna try and be as objective as I can here, like, right up until we get to the nitty-gritty anyway, because when it comes to the game's content, I want to see what the deal is before I pass any judgments, because I think that's the fair thing to do. The jackets look dope. It kind of reminds me of Splatoon, if that makes sense. Splatoon has an aesthetic that kind of fits this vibe, where you can very clearly tell it's post-apocalyptic, it's like low-key sci-fi, but it's also very, like, trendy. Oh, you're so dead. Oh! Barf! Yep. The thing, right, is that, like, if you were looking at this and you didn't know who made it or what the deal was, that you would not expect this to be an extraction shooter. For me, this was shaping up to be, like, some form of, like, sci-fi story-driven game about, like, solving a mystery, but no, it's a live service. It used to be. That's the thing. We're gonna actually look at the old Marathon as well to see what the difference is. Before, it used to be a horror game, but now it's a live service type of vibe. Oh. Ew! It still looks spooky scary, but I don't think it's gonna have a story campaign. Or if it does, it's gonna be very surface level, because most live services tend to not go super into story.
Near them, on the sands, half sun.
And they've actually been working on this game for a hot minute, I think, over at Bungie, so it's not a development that's new. If anything, there's been rumors that Sony has been pressuring the devs to release it before it's ready. I don't get why, having such an interesting set of visuals and premise, you would not even entertain the idea of having a campaign. Bungie's whole bread and butter is doing, like, a game that you can play on multiplayer, but also has a story. Like, Halo has a campaign, right? I'm not insane, right? Like, it's definitely a very interesting aesthetic, for sure, when it comes to sci-fi. Is it super stylized up to a point? No. I think that the human faction, the human, like, fucking proportions are very realistic. But the thing I do like is the sci-fi aspect, which is why it's so sad that it doesn't have a single-player mode. It's probably gonna be one of those games that if you're not online, the game doesn't work, too, which would be so sad.
Can you please? I mean, it feels just
like it looks like
what
you're gonna have
right?
outfit customization. You're gonna be able to design your weird Marathon character. Like, it's very clearly you're not supposed to be human, and you can make some really unique, interesting stuff. But
Do you mind if we skip the formalities this time? Got a big contract waiting down there, so.
like, I love the look of this. Why is this not a story thing? Why are you giving me the Big Brother setup and explaining lore about this world if I'm not gonna be allowed to do anything but shoot at a 15-year-old who's gonna be screaming slurs at me? Like, why? Yeah, unlike Concord, I am seeing a very concrete sense of identity in this. It looks pretty cool, honestly. I never expected you to have any interest in this as a live service tutor, though. I'm interested in it from an artist's perspective because of recent news. But I do want to talk about like the overall game's visuals and what we know about it so far before I get into what happened recently. And like, my community doesn't know what this is, and neither do I, so I figured instead of all of us like seeing one video and just talking about the news, we could get to know the IP a little bit better together! God, that is an atrocious set of features. Christ on a bike, that's a FNAF jump scare right there, chat. Holy shit. Cheekbones. Oh! Not for sale, you're dead now. The 15-year-olds have found you.
The thing that's weirdest to me is that live service games have been considered a bad investment for a while. Sony has famously canned a bunch of live service games at once because of money issues, and yet some people are still trying so hard to push them.
Let me explain to you why that's happening. Big companies are notoriously slow. So while now that might be a bad idea, these companies started development for these games when it was a good idea. They can't see the future, chat. So for them, they're still like in fucking denial as a river in Egypt, and they know it's a bad idea, but they've poured fucking years and millions of dollars into these games, and it would be more of a waste to not release them. Gigantic companies are notoriously slow. It's much easier to fucking steer a rowboat than a fucking cruise ship, chat. And a company is a cruise ship. Like, they have very interesting characters, for sure, but... I love the colors. And yet, like, we're seeing all of this, and none of this is gonna matter in the game. It's a waste, Bungie. Use it. Story benefits us all. I know that some people don't like to play story, but like, give the fucking monkeys that like to fucking oonga boonga play game and not look at cutscenes, and monkeys affectionate, by the way, because sometimes I'm also like that. Sometimes I just want to play the game. Give us the option to skip it, and then the people who want to play the story can look at the story, and the people who just want to fucking wham, but play the game can play the game. I will say though, from what I do know about this game, what little I do know, these are the characters. It is similar to Overwatch in that you pick a character to work with, and that's the one you play. So far, though, I'm gonna say that while the game has a very unique sense of identity, I'm not vibing with these as much as I want to. They're not stylized enough for how fucking funky the rest of the art style is. There is a dissonance there. Because for such a unique aesthetic, you would expect more unique shapes in the character designs. Super dead! Parkour and out. Like, yeah, if these are supposed to be like the characters that I'm supposed to care about, the shapes of them are a little bit too generic for how weird the art style is. I would have loved to see some more play on shapes or some more stylized shapes.
And on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
And like, this seems so interesting, right? You'll see like 2 seconds of this, and then the rest of the game is gonna be like live fucking service, baby. But yeah, that was the cinematic trailer for Marathon. Looks pretty interesting, right? Despite being a live service, it has a pretty concrete sense of identity. Aesthetically, it's very fun. Character designs leave something to be desired, but other than that, it looks, at the very least, an intriguing concept. But it's an extraction shooter. Lily, what the fuck is that? I don't know. Let's go find out. It makes me kind of sad because if this was a story, I could already tell you it would be a horror thing that has a Groundhog Day type of situation. You die, you restart. You die, you restart until you fucking realize you're in a loop and you break the cycle, which could be a very interesting, like, cosmic horror concept, especially if all the characters are tied to the ship. I think the ship is, like, the Marathon ship, right? But sadly, we're not using that concept, despite the fact that it seems incredibly fucking horrifying and interesting. No, we're not using that. We're gonna make live service. Now let's see if the fucking people at Bungie can tell me what the fuck is an extraction shooter and why should I care? So this is the gameplay trailer for Marathon, right? Again, I like the colors and I love the aesthetic so much, which makes what we're gonna talk about later so fucking frustrating. I don't think Bungie can delay this. I don't think they can either, but here's the thing, if they don't delay it, it's very likely gonna flop. But Bungie's in trouble because Sony bought Bungie for around, give or take, $3 billion. 3 billones de pavinis, okay? And so far, Bungie hasn't made them back a penny. They have not seen a return on investment. So if Marathon flops, it might just be the end of Bungie as we know it. If what the news we're gonna talk about in a bit are true, it's it's not looking good. It's really not looking good, not even a little bit.
Marathon is a team-based extraction shooter.
I hope
set
that these
around
aren't final graphics, Bungie, because that
cutthroat
looked
world.
fucking flat as shit.
Are a runner, a cybernetic mercenary who's given up their
You know what
human
they should do with games like this, chat? They should make the advertisements the same way that Team Fortress 2 did.
Yo, what's up?
Meet the runner, bitch. Like, I would really, really love it if we had more fucking
An
adverts like
extraction
that.
shooter is a game where you go into a map with a team or alone, and you go and try to get as much valuable stuff as you can and extract with your loot. Die, you lose everything, including everything you came in with, meaning you'll have to start over again.
That seems frustrating as shit. I guess some people might really like that, though. Like, that sounds sweaty. Thank you very much for the super chat. That's incredibly generous. Thank you for explaining. I don't usually play live service games, so this stuff is completely new to me.
with unique abilities and stats, capable of both tactical and
That kind of looks like if
fast-paced
you go to
combat.
Hawaii at like noon and nothing is like rendered. Have you guys ever seen those Zero Shadow pictures? They're so creepy, but that actually happens IRL. This is what it looks like. This is called Zero Shadow Day. This is what it looks like when the sun is like precisely like in the middle of the fucking sky and nothing casts shadows. This looks like a pre-rendered asset. This is not Photoshop, this is real. That's why in movies, whenever they're doing like a CG heavy or purely CG environment, when they try and simulate daytime, it kind of looks like shit because you're just gonna, because like making actual simulated sunlight is so difficult. You're gonna get shit that looks like this. But it looks like that. That's exactly what this game looks like.
With weapons, materials, and equipment, you can scavenge.
See, like, I like
throughout
the
the map.
interiors. The interiors look really nice.
Survive, and your loot can be taken into future runs as you grow in power and fill your vault.
Oh, dude, I would.
Death.
Here's the thing, right? I am the bitch, chat. I'm the bitch that when I was playing like Tears of the Kingdom, if I got a good weapon, I never used it. It stayed in the hoard forever. Do you think if I played an extraction shooter, I would use any of the good weapons? No, I would hoard all of them and I would never use them. But yeah, no, apparently this actually doesn't have voice chat, so I guess we're safe from the gamer words from children.
To revive your teammates and get out with your hard-earned loot. And if you believe your skills alone are enough to conquer any challenge, we give you the freedom to opt out of crew fill.
Oh, fuck yeah, there's friendly fire, but...
Slip into the shadows as Void and Ghost past
Oh yeah, you
your
can become
enemies.
stealthy. That
Search
water
the
has
map
no
for rare
texture.
materials and grab
See, the
extra
thing about
equipment,
Halo is that you
shield
can drive cars, rocket jump, and play 8 versus 8 team matches. That just looks like the same copy of Pace of 3 versus 3 shooter game. Halo was unique. Like, aesthetically, like for me as an artist, aesthetically this game is very interesting looking. Gameplay-wise, I'm not familiar with first-person shooters, so I don't really know.
You're always free to experiment with team compositions.
Yeah, I want to learn more about the video game industry in general because I do think it's interesting the amount of shit that happens in this industry. It's funny, right? Because gaming wasn't this like huge gigantic thing until like what? The early 2000s. That's when it started growing, and now it's insane. But now there is a changing of the guard. Slowly but surely there is a changing of the guard. Consumer preferences are changing. The big AAA studios aren't doing so hot in some aspects. Smaller AA devs are making some amazing stuff. So here's the thing, back in the day, the game development could be like around a year, depending on how many assets are necessary, making it catch on to trend easily. Some popular franchises are the result of that. Nowadays, even simple projects take 3 years at least. So it's impossible to catch on to a trend, and a lot of games come out when people are already over it. With a lot of them failing as a result. We're basically dealing with an industry that hasn't realized that it's not the same as it was. Yeah, actually, exactly. That's actually what I was gonna get to. But here's the thing, right? This is why, and I cannot fucking say this enough, we don't need to make products, we need to make art. A game like Clair Obscur is timeless. We need to make something that people are going to want to play. Give them a reason to want to play it. Let's not make fucking vapid, soulless, live service shit anymore. Let's try and go back to our roots as gamers and play games that are just artwork. There's so many fucking games out there that you can play years and years and years after the fact. Hell, I played DMC3, which is a game from 2006. Loved it. We need to make art again, because that's the only way to keep up in this industry, because game development, good game development, takes at least 5 years.
Seasonal storytelling, community events, and more all await you in Season 1, where you and your friends will start.
And the
to
fact that we're
unravel
already
this
selling this as a season already is like, ugh, because that you're gonna need a battle pass, cosmetics. It doesn't feel like you guys want me to have an experience. It feels like you guys want me to consume a product. And that type of disingenuous thinking already puts people off, especially people like me who might be new to the genre.
Your next big score.
Alright, and that was the gameplay trailer. Now, I'm not a fan of the extraction shooter bit because multiplayer games don't really do it for me. I prefer to play single player because I am a little baby goblin.
To keep myself from being disappointed with video games, I just stay in my lane and consume what I know I like, aka Capcom and Souls-likes.
Thanks so much for the super chat. Like, while I do think it's good to consume what you like, don't close yourself off. Being open-minded about gaming can introduce you to a wealth of new experiences. Like, if you want to get into different games, and I think that you should, research stuff before you buy them. There's a lot of really good resources, game reviews. If you don't trust the Metacritic score, there's so many content creators that play video games that can give you a pretty honest opinion. Not everyone is biased, not everyone is into the culture war bullshit. There are genuinely some people out there who just tell it like it is, tell you, the game has these good things and these bad things, and it's up to you if you want to buy it. Alright, now let's look at the characters real quick. So far, there are not that many. I will say this, the character design in this game missed. It bothers me that the game has such a unique sci-fi aesthetic, and instead of making cool stylized hero characters like a la Overwatch, we're making like Roblox characters. This looks like something I can build with a Lego. Like, it has no identity, no personality. They're wearing the clothes that fit the aesthetic of the game, but the actual character has no identity. It's very colorful but bland. It's like green eggs and ham with no salt. This tells me absolutely nothing. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what your damage is. They look like test mannequins. Yeah, these look like fucking pre-rendered assets that you put into the game to test out the game. Like, when you're making a character-based shooter, you don't want your fucking characters to look like mannequins. Like, the cinematic trailer had some interesting designs, but they felt like player avatars, not like unique characters. So my thoughts on these are, I can't really tell you what their deal is, and while there is some interesting choice in color work here and there, they're bland. They're really bland. Like, there's a bit more pizzazz here, but this is just Candy Cane Master Chief. Like, is the design itself bad? No. But does it tell me anything? Also no. Like, Space Soldier, that's it. That's all I'm getting here. I feel indifferent. And when you are designing a character, making someone feel indifferent means that your design is not memorable, sadly. This one we saw in the trailers, Ookie Spooky Face, but again, same thing. They're wearing cool outfits, but the characters are not at all stylized. There's no personality here. Again, bad designs, not necessarily, but they're not good either. They're very bland. They're just there. This is the one that we saw the most in the trailer. I think this is the one that had the most design, at least for me. But again, same problem. I'm not really getting what her deal is. I don't know what her motivations or goals are. I don't know what her job is other than run fast and shoot things. Cool outfit. Bland person inside of it. I don't know how to explain this, because if you ask me if this design was bad, technically speaking, no. But with how forgettable it is, and I would forget this in 2 seconds, you'd think that they would plan something a little bit more fun, because they have Master Chief, and that dude's fucking iconic. And then they have stuff like this, where the environmental design is amazing, and the aesthetics look really, really cool, but then the characters just kind of miss the mark?
We have Tracer at home.
A little bit, but like more punk, mannequin, weird Tracer. Thanks so much for the super chat. There is something to be of note about the color scheme in this. It's not bad. But when the character inside of the clothes is just a mannequin and not an actual character, that's usually when you miss the mark a little bit. I don't know, man. Like, there's just... you should be able to tie all of this together to make something interesting, and I'm not getting that. Not even a little bit. But now, let's look at the old marathon. Just to see what we were originally working with. This is the one from the 90s. This is deleted old. So like, this is very, very different. This seemed almost like a single player campaign type of vibe, almost horror game-ish. So this is old marathon. And in this one, the ship was in space. In the new one, the ship is on the ground. I think it crashed. Marathon 2 Durandal. Yeah, so like, the marathon games aren't anything new. We're basically, what happened here is that Bungie took the IP, and instead of making another single player game and reviving the franchise the same way they did with like Doom, for example, they just decided, fuck it, we need another live service. Which is a shame, because the premise for Marathon being a single player game seemed more interesting to me than whatever the fuck they're doing with the live service. It's like I said before, this game has been in development for a while because gaming companies take forever to do shit, so development lasts a few years, and trends change very quickly. The ending of the original Marathon, the main character becomes a god that gets stuck in a time loop. And they were hinting at a time loop in the cinematic trailer for the new Marathon, so it's a shame that we're not going to see that being used to fruition. So that was the old Marathon. It's very, very different than what we got now. So, now that we have a brief history of what Marathon is and what it used to be, we can get into the meat and potatoes of this. So, allegations have come out against Bungie from an artist known as Anti-Real, basically accusing the Bungie devs of essentially taking her artwork and straight up ripping it to put it into Marathon. Before people go nuts, there is some misinformation. They did not rip the entire game's aesthetic from this person. They used some of her work, not all of it. But apparently, she had evidence. And a lot of it. Evidence that would make any fucking lawyer salivate over representing her. The allegations are that the Marathon people, the art direction team, or rather the art team, stole her artwork to use to put in the game, but verbatim, like her actual logos, same icons, everything. Like, so they didn't steal the entire aesthetic from her. They did take some stuff straight up from her, and they were definitely heavily inspired by her art style to make Marathon's aesthetic, which is why Marathon having such a unique aesthetic is really frustrating, because if they wanted to, they could have fucking hired her. The Marathon Alpha released recently, and its environments are covered with assets that are lifted from poster designs that I made in 2017. So this is not new artwork. This is artwork that she made in 2017. Old. Bungie is, of course, not obligated to hire me when making a game that draws overwhelmingly from the same design language that I have refined for the last decade, but clearly my work was good enough to pillage for ideas and plaster all over their game without pay or attribution. In 10 years, I have never made a consistent income from this work, and I am tired of designers from huge companies moodboarding and parasiting my designs while I struggle to make a living. So Anti-Real has every right to be upset here, because the people at Bungie, they deadass lifted this. I believe her poster's on the right? They deadass lifted the same fucking logo from these posters, same typography, same spacing, same glyphs. They put that shit into the game verbatim. See that Aleph logo? Dark Space Haulage Logistics? Like that kind of like really bright neon sci-fi? Everywhere in Marathon. Aleph, verbatim, the same thing, same typography, same everything, right? You could attribute this to being something that they did not take out of the alpha, but I am not going to aside Bungie such good faith, because they have a history of doing shit like this. The other example is this poster. These two posters. Just straight up copying the logos, straight up copying all the icons that she made. Like, holy shit. Literally her logo. They just fucking flipped it. Like fucking rat thieves. They're even in the same order, right? As the icons on the poster in the bottom. You have, like, her logo, and then you have a little, like, burst thing, and then you have something that looks like a little game controller, and then you have, like, this, like, weird fetus thing, and then a rock shark test, and then two little fucking kidneys, and then like a ring. It's the same thing, literally the same order. They just flipped it. So while they did not take everything from Anti-Real to make the art style, they were at the very least swiping some stuff, and a big chunk of it, look at that. Not only that, they very clearly took heavy inspiration from her art style to design the game. Look at that. It's exactly her poster. It's dead ass her poster. All over this game. Even her logo is in there.
Oh hey, talking about the art theft stuff.
Yes, I am, because this does pertain artists like me. As a smaller artist, you're almost always going to sit back and be like, well, I haven't copyrighted this, but like, I'm such a small creator that no one's gonna like take it, right? Wrong. This does happen. However, nowadays we have the internet, so calling gigantic companies out for being cheap asses and not wanting to pay artists is entirely within the realm of possibility. What if it's AI generated and the AI stole her art as a reference? Nope, this is way too blatantly copy-pasted to be AI. AI would have made an iteration, not the same thing. When AI copies things, they make something that like looks like the thing, but it's not quite the thing. This is one-to-one. Her signature's still right, for fuck's sake. So as artists, you kind of think like, oh god, could that happen to me? And the answer is sadly yes. If you have designs that are really, really good, a lot of the times these companies will not approach you. They will just fucking swipe your shit. And unfortunately, unless we make a big stink about it, they're not gonna do anything. I do believe that Anti-Real was completely within her right to be A, very pissed about this, and B, make a stink about it, because I think that Bungie needs to be called out. Because, newsflash, This isn't the first time they've done shit like this. Bungie has a history of stealing designs from smaller artists. Now, I want to show you guys Anti-Real's portfolio. This is stuff from like 2017. This is not in the game, but I would not fault you for thinking that it is, because it's very obvious that a lot of the inspiration for Marathon's aesthetic came from Anti-Real. You would look at this and you would think, oh, you work for Bungie, right? You were the art director for Marathon. No. No, she was not. And it's so blatant. Like, if you have a really strong design, and if you think that a company can't just come in and steal your bullshit, no, they can. And if they do and you catch them, here's what I would do. I would raise a giant stink, but I would not talk to them. I would lawyer the fuck up. Don't talk to anybody in legal teams from other companies, all right? If they come to you like, oh, what can we do to do this right? Don't talk to me. Okay, so these are the allegations from Anti-Real, right? But for some reason, that same day, the fucking Marathon devs over at Bungie fired up a stream where they addressed the situation, and it's pretty dire. So let's look at that statement. You can feel the vibes. You can touch the tension with a knife, chat. Look at that. They look like they're at a funeral. Wait, this is an official Bungie livestream, and you guys have that much level of scuff? Sony, what the fuck? Where did those $3 billion go? The art director's face is so deadpan. The art director is either complicit or he did not at all catch this. He had no idea. And now, chat, as the art director, you are taking the fall for this. As the art director, this is your responsibility. You are eating shit for it. I'm sorry. It's your team. You are responsible for vetting that everyone on your team is working with legal assets, original assets, not AI assets. You have to be the one to stand up and apologize and make it right, because you represent the team. So this art director, rightfully so, looks like he just got a radioactive banana shoved up his dill hole. And the art director follows the artist. Here's the thing, right? It's actually been proven that almost every artist involved in Marathon follows Anti-Real, and they have been for a while, so it's not looking good. His face says, I really wish I wasn't here. And I was like, did we have to do this stream today? I would be holding back tears. I almost feel bad for the art director. If he really had no idea, I feel bad for him. But considering Bungie's history... Also, why is there so much scuff? Not even I have this much scuff, and I fucking run this shit by myself with like my fucking and setting up my audio. This is a fucking studio that costs Sony $3 billion. Why do we have this much scuff? We don't even have the proper microphones for this. What's wrong with you? No pop filters, no nothing.
Who's not on camera is Andrew Witz, gameplay director, and we're gonna spend some time talking about some stuff today. Our show is a little bit different today.
Also, it's unsynced as fuck.
To show a lot more.
Holy shit. Sony. I'm sorry, this is Kino. This is cinema. You could not make this shit up if you fucking tried, chat. Part of me feels really bad for them, but a bigger part of me is trying really, really hard not to laugh, because this is comedy gold.
We're about to get into, we decided not to show a bunch of this stuff, but we are going to be discussing a lot about what we learned through Alpha, some of the plans that we're going forward.
Could you imagine these like massive allegations against you dropped, and you have to stream, and instead of just getting right to it, getting it out there, like just getting it over with, you have to deal with 15 minutes of audio scuff while your fucking lead developer spits into a microphone with no pop filter, and you're just sitting there, clenching your fists on your knees, sweating, about to cry because you have to address this incredibly serious issue, but the stream just does not get started. Am I terrible? Because this is it's comedy. I'm so sorry, chat.
But before we get into that, Joe Cross has some sort of topic that he wants to talk about.
Some sort of topic. No, this is not some sort of topic. You guys are in fucking massive shit because everybody knows about this now. This blew up. Like, I heard at Hubby looking at least 3 or 4 different sources from both sides of the goddamn culture war admonishing Bungie for this.
Thanks, Joe. And hey, everyone. I'm Joe Cross, franchise art director of Marathon.
It's unsafe.
Yeah, and wanted to take a minute to talk about some of the events from yesterday. It came to our attention, and sorry, I wrote this. I would
cry. I don't know how he's saying this with a straight face. I would have tears pouring down my cheeks already. Like,
I get this message right. It came to our attention that an artist who worked on Marathon in the early stages of
I love how
pre-production.
we're pinning it on an artist that may or may not be real that used to work on Marathon.
Took a number of graphic elements from a graphic designer without permission or acknowledgement.
A number,
and placed
most
them
of
on
the
a
fucking
decal sheet
aesthetic.
that was then checked in 2020. The decal sheet included icons and text elements. These elements ended up in our alpha build, and there's absolutely no excuse for this oversight. And we are working on and 100% committed to our review process to ensure instances like this.
But here's the thing, right? They don't have time. They might say this, but they are not going to have time to change out everything because the game has to come out in September. Sony will not let them delay this. They should. They really should. But Sony needs Bungie to produce a hit because if they don't, that $3 billion investment is going down the drain faster than Nemo did in the movie when he pretended to be dead. As far as apologies go, it's not a very good one because at the end of the day, what they should have done was try and hire anti-real.
A few of the things that we've done over the last 24 hours and what we're doing to shore up the review process are as follows. We've reached out to Anti-Real.
Anti-real? Do not fucking talk to these people. Do not talk to these people. My father-in-law is a lawyer. He will tell you the same thing. So, in the any off chance any artists in chat might be watching this, if a big company steals your shit and you call them out on it and it blows up and they try to get in touch with you, say nothing. Get a lawyer. But literally they can't afford that. So many people are willing to work with Anti-Real pro bono. Get a lawyer. Because if you talk to these people, they will use it against you in court at any chance they get. Do not say a word to these ghouls, alright? Because that's what they are. That's what corporate lawyers are. Sorry, not sorry. They're kind of ghoulish. The reason they're reaching out to her is because they know that they're in trouble. Bungie's not stupid. They are aware that they fucked up and massively. That's why they're reaching out. Normally they don't.
Hundreds of artists have worked on this project for years, internally and externally, and we share many.
But it's funny, right,
influences,
Bungie? It's funny,
including-
right? You say it's one artist, except the game's sense of aesthetic is so very, very clearly similar to Anti-Real's work. You follow her on Twitter. A bunch of your art team follows her on Twitter, so it was obviously not just one, was it? It was probably a bunch of artists that moodboarded with Anti-Real's work. Some of them blatantly stole it, but it's very, very clear that instead of reaching out and asking to hire her for this project, which would have saved you all this fucking trouble, you just got lazy.
And lastly, personally, I have a huge amount of respect and admiration for artists working independently,
No, you don't.
producing, making a living, doing commercial or fine art. We've worked with many of them. It's one of my favorite parts of the job is to make those connections.
For me, statements like
and-
that are very disingenuous as an artist myself. Companies don't just reach out to smaller artists. They never do. They steal from them, yes. And this happens a lot. Bungie's not the only company that does shit like this. A lot of them do it. What they do, though, they do hire and they look at a lot of portfolios, but sometimes they see an idea they like and they think that no one's gonna notice if they just yoink. There is no respect for small artists in games like this, in at least studios this big. Studios this big have mountains of resources and people that they can work with, and it's so easy for them to just go into someone's Twitter gallery and just boop, steal their work.
And it's very exciting, and I'm excited to have folded that into our style in general. So thanks for listening, and thanks for your patience.
And that's them addressing this issue. Personally, I don't find this apology very sincere. And here is why. They acknowledge the issue. Okay, we immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of artist decals in Marathon and confirmed that a former Bungie artist, which we're not going to name because they're probably not real, included these in texture sheet and was ultimately used in game. This issue was unknown by our existing art team. And we're also reviewing how this oversight occurred. It wasn't an oversight. Bungie has almost 1,000 employees. What do you mean one artist was responsible for this? This is a company with a legal team, PR, HR. Are you kidding me? Companies this big take fucking 50 passes to approve anything. Are you joking? There is no way in God's green earth dick that you guys did not know that these assets were stolen. No fucking way. We take matters like this very seriously, and we have reached out to Anti-Real, baby girl don't answer them, to discuss this issue and are committed to do right by the artists. As a matter of policy, we do not use the work of artists without their permission. It's not the first time, Bungie. To prevent similar issues in the future, we are conducting a thorough review of our in-game assets. No, you're not. The game is coming out in September. Specifically those done by the former Bungie artists, which we're not going to name. and implementing stricter checks on documenting artist contributions. We value the creativity and dedication of all artists who contribute to our games, and Tyrell did not contribute to your game, you guys stole her shit, and we are committed to doing right by them. Again, she wasn't working for you. Thank you for bringing all this to our attention. She wasn't working for you. You guys stole her shit, and this is why this apology is not sincere. They posted this not on the official Bungie account, not on the Marathon account, but on an account with 11,000 followers. For reference, Marathon the game has 117,000. They posted this to an account with 1/10 of the following that the actual game has. We didn't want anybody to see this, did we, Bungie? We wanted to sweep this under the rug, didn't we, Bungie? They literally put this in the smallest account possible, so no one would see it. But oh, Bungie, this is the internet. Everyone is covering this. And now you got me fucking involved, even though I don't play fucking first-person shooters, because guess what? I'm an artist and the shit makes me irate. And it has 2.5 million views, so good job on trying to hide that, Bungie. Great job. But lastly, to finish off this segment nice and round and polished and shiny like a boob, this is not the first time Bungie's done something like this.
They're not sorry about stealing the work. They're sorry that they got caught.
Oh, abso-fucking-lutely. Thank you very much for the super chat. This is another artist that designed the gun that ended up in Destiny. Guess what we did? We inverted the color palette and flipped some stuff around and hoped that nobody would notice. This was an artist called Tofu Rabbit. Hey, Bungie. So the Nerf Face of Spaces directly lifts a commission I did in 2015. This is not similar or coincidence. You can see my same brush strokes and scratches and smudges on the gun. Blatant plagiarism. Are they even trying? No. So this is why I don't believe them for a second when they say that, oh, we didn't notice. Yes, you did. You knew exactly what you were doing. You are only fucking panicking and scrambling now because you got caught. Honestly, if you ask me, this game should be delayed indefinitely, and you either hire Anti-Real or she fucking sues you for all that this game is going to be worth when it comes out, which is sadly not going to be much, because at this point, this game is a trash fire. The only good thing about it was the aesthetics, and now it turns out that we've stolen a lot of the work for it, and it's just such a fucking shame. I think Bungie should definitely consider delaying this. Sony's not gonna let them. The game is probably not going to perform very well. The game is dead now. Chat or YouTube comments, what do you guys think? I personally think that this is pretty blatant, and it's absolutely unacceptable for a gaming company as big as Bungie to not thoroughly vet their artists and check that the work that they're making is original. It's completely insulting to Anti-Real, but I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that this is as clear-cut and as blatant as they say? Do you want to assign the Bungie devs some good faith? What do you think? Honestly. Genuinely curious. Because I decree Marathon trash. And yeah, if you like this segment, probably gonna be a video, like, comment, subscribe. Please fight your demons in the comments, and by demons, I mean Bungie.